to conclude on this statement, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been patiently waiting to add my voice to the report, Speaker. And before I give my comments, Mr. Speaker, I think I want to remind this House that this government was voted in on the basis of that we recognize each and every individual and we value them, Mr. Speaker. I've been listening to our whip, to Senator Sifuna, the doctors who are here with PhDs, the lawyers who always remind us that they are smarter than us. All these people who think, Mr. Speaker, are actually better than other Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. I've been listening to them keenly. And I've been sitting here wondering, do they understand that all 47 delegation, plus the 20 senators who are here on a platform of equity? And whether you are a doctor, whether you are a lawyer, whether you are a mama mboga, whether you are a mama karanga, like our mama Haki, nominated senator from Mombasa, we are all sitting on the same seats. So, Mr. Speaker, every time when a conversation is brought to this House, and I hear lawyers saying, you know, as a lawyer, you know what are you talking about, Mr. Speaker? We are all senators. We are all elected. We are all representing the same Kenyans. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, it is just a reminder to this House that you might think you know everything, but just as Senator Sifuna has pointed out,
Gloria,
we don't know everything, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Gloria, do you want to be informed by Senator Fak?
Mr. Speaker, let me just say this.
Do you want to
I have a background in architecture. I have a background in community
Senator
work.
Gloria.
I do not want to be informed by a person who does not have 3 backgrounds of relevant and vast experiences in different industries. Mr. Speaker, let me just say this. I want to remind all the Kenyans, and particularly our elected leaders from ODM, who, Mr. Speaker, campaigned very hard but failed to convince the electorate because they came with that pride of we are lawyers, we are people. Mr. Speaker, Kenya Kwanza won this government on the basis of kazi ni kazi, Mr. Speaker. Kazi ni kazi. And if you had
Senator Gloria
plan,
Orwoba, the
yes.
chair is reminding you to confine your comments to the statement. Confine your comments to
I stand guided, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to put clarity that, indeed, this government was voted in by 50 plus 1% of the Kenyan population on the basis that they were convinced that they wanted a leader who recognizes all people. Mr. Speaker, kazi ni kazi. And on that basis, Mr. Speaker, and maybe Senator Sifuna could be right, Mr. Speaker, that we don't understand what medical interns are, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, one thing is clear. This issue of trying to elevate one industry as you demote the other, or denounce the doctors as you elevate the other, Mr. Speaker, that is not how we are going to come to a conclusion on how to deal with the crisis that we have with our healthcare sector, Mr. Speaker. First of all, that attitude, Mr. Speaker, that we are expressing, even in this House, the upper house, that some people are higher than others, that is the reason why we have every single time the medical representatives walking out, Mr. Speaker. It is the attitude of not understanding that, first of all, whether you are more special than the other, our doctors are not in hospital, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've also heard various senators, instead of contributing and adding their voice to a solution on what we can do as a House, as a Senate, to help in this negotiation and actually open that deadlock that we have, Mr. Speaker. Instead, I have had very honorable senators come here to try and say that our cabinet secretary should not have been put there because she's not a doctor, Mr. Speaker. Today we had our cabinet secretary of interior. Is he a policeman? Was he a Kenya Defense Force officer? Is he a major general? No. Mr. Speaker, we have to start understanding that that kind of minute thinking is the reason we are not solving the health crisis, Mr. Speaker. we should focus our engagement, Mr. Speaker, on why we cannot meet this issue of the interns, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I finalize on my...
Senator Gloria, there is a point of order from Senator Christopher.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I would like to find out if, according to you, Speaker, it is in order for the senator to say that there are senators in this House with minute thinking. I believe that her point precisely is saying the opposite, that we are all here equitably, and therefore we all have the same type of thinking that brought her here, so there shouldn't be a segregation of those who have minute thinking and those who have otherwise. So I wanted your direction the same so that the senator can be guided.
Senator Gloria, you may rephrase that reference to...
I actually do not recall having said minute. However, maybe for clarity, let me say this. And Mr. Speaker, I have the privilege of having gone to St. George's Secondary School, so my English is very good. Mr. Speaker, I actually said that we should not limit our arguments to simplistic thoughts, Mr. Speaker. We should not limit our arguments to simplistic thoughts, simplifying very complex matters. Because I have heard Senator Halwale, and it is in the Hansard. Senator Halwale said that our cabinet secretary, who's not even a doctor, does not understand doctors, blah, blah, blah. And in that comparison, I was just reminding the House that we have our our cabinet secretary for interior.
Senator
Mr.
Gloria,
Speaker, having belabored the point, let me conclude on what I want to say, Mr. Speaker. This government was voted in by a majority of Kenyans by the fact that we are standing on equity, Mr. Speaker. Our policies, all the things that are in the plan, the Kenya Kwanza plan, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Gloria, conclude.
I am concluding, but just allow me to conclude, Mr. Speaker. The Kenya Kwanza plan, every single policy that is in there, the basis is on equity. We actually won this election because we said, kazi ni kazi, Mr. Speaker. So in that sense, Mr. Speaker, I want to implore my fellow senators, while they are contributing to the issues of doctors, Mr. Speaker, to remember that...
Senator Gloria, there is a point of order by Senator Eddy.
Mr. Speaker, I have a point of order number 101, content of speech, and 105. Mr. Speaker, you've listened to Senator Gloria executing the issues of elections and how elections were won in this country and how the agenda of the Kenya Kwanza regime are under trial in this particular conversation this afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Where is relevance in this, Mr. Speaker? I don't even know which statement Senator Gloria is talking about that has questioned whether the current regime lost an election or won an election, that has questioned whether the manifesto is being followed or not.
Point,
Mr. Speaker, what is the statement she's referring to?
You've made your point. Resume your seat. Senator Gloria, conclude as you...
Mr. Speaker, if you protect me from all these points of orders, you know, the thought would not be lost, Mr. Speaker. This issue of kazi ni kazi, which is a basis of the policies of Kenya Kwanza, it is ensuring, and I am actually magnifying, that whether you're an intern, or you're a doctor, or you're a lawyer, or you're a flight attendant, or a controller of traffic, air traffic, or a hustler, or mama mboga, that we are not going to debate the crisis that we have in the health sector on the basis that the lawyers are the ones who should be allowed to contribute. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by saying that I sit in the Labor Committee, and the issue of CBAs is an issue that actually we need to legislate, Mr. Speaker. Just yesterday, we were trying to ensure that a worker from one of the tea factories was compensated their dues properly, Mr. Speaker. And just yesterday, the Labor Committee, and members of the Labor Committee are here, they can tell you, we found out that CBAs can even exist outside the Constitution. There was even a paragraph of a contractual agreement that can never be justified within our Constitution, Mr. Speaker. So, our duty as Senate, Mr. Speaker, number one, is to legislate around CBAs, I believe. Number two, is to see how we can add our voice to ensure that the deadlock is open, Mr. Speaker. And I welcome the idea of bringing all hands on deck, because, Mr. Speaker, we can't be doing the same things. We've had the same stakeholders sitting in boardrooms, and they're walking out on each other, Mr. Speaker. Today, it is the healthcare sectors walking out of the Council of Governors. Tomorrow, it is who walking out on who. Mr. Speaker, they have even politicized this thing. If you ask me, the leader of the health workers, Mr. Speaker, that guy is now turning into a politician. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying bring those people to Senate, because whatever they've been trying in those boardrooms, with the cabinet secretary, with whoever has been involved, it's clearly not working, Mr. Speaker. Perhaps it is time that us politicians and the Senate step in, we have a conversation here, and who knows, just maybe we might be able to be the solution to whatever is happening in the healthcare sector. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. That brings us to a close to the comments on the statement by the chairperson of Health Committee. And further statements pursuant to Standing Order 52. I'll call upon Senator Mandago. You have statement. Sorry, I'll go first with Senator Tabitha. Statement pursuant to Standing Order 52.1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. And statement